now proudly presented on SNME. That's Sunday night's main event. Patreon and free feed.
We just people from the north side. Once the Timmy's at the shore fine. Winter ready on the four ties. Heavy traffic during 4-5. Gotta hustle on your own time. Color people every port side. We just people from the north side. Once the Timmy's at the shore fine.
3, 2, 1. Hey guys, what's going on? It's your host, your boy George Mackay here on a beautiful Saturday. And I'm sitting down with one of my favorite people behind the scenes. I finally got him on the show. Very excited. He's actually been a really good friend of mine, helping me out along the way. He's the reason why I've been able to connect with the man Lucha as well as I have. Please welcome the one, the only, the infamous Mike Clark. How are you, sir?
Great, George. Pleasure to be here. I like the infamous line. I like that.
So I want to talk. I brought you on the show because I'm really excited about all the stuff you got going on this summer, from the RIBFEST to the stuff at the CNE, the Canadian National Exhibition that's taken place, some of the amazing legends that you're bringing in, like Jerry the King Lawler, Jimmy Hart, Tito Santana. Talk to me about, first off, it's two different amazing projects you got going, but talk to me about all the RIBFEST stuff and everything you got going on with those first off.
Okay, so it goes back a few years ago. I made contact with a guy from Ontario Festival Group, and they're doing RIBFEST X, and they reached out to me late last year about doing live wrestling at the RIBFEST. So the first one is going to be Saturday, May 18th, 2 events, 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. It's going to be at Interchange Way in Vaughan. And on the 15th, Wednesday, May 15th, we're going to be at 299 Queen West for breakfast television, kicking off the RIBFEST. And there's 7 or 8 events already scheduled with RIBFEST. We have May, we have every weekend in June, every weekend in July, and then there's a couple into September. Plus, I've got a whole bunch of fairs and 3 shows on Canada Day. It's really been a incredible year, and we haven't even kicked it off yet. And CCW's got 82 events so far scheduled for this year. So it's a big undertaking, but we'll be able. I like to think we're the best at what we do with these fairs and festivals. So, it's a lot of planning, but everything seems to be coming together rather smoothly.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, for sure. You guys are definitely, when it comes to these outdoor events and these fair events, you guys do it like nobody else does, for sure. Now let's talk about the CNE, because wrestling in the CNE was a staple for a long time back in like the early days of the CNE. It kind of went away for a bit, but now it's come back in a big way. Last year, you guys had a couple of events, plus Impact was there for one weekend doing a couple of events, celebrating their shows when they were in town. Talk to me about the CNE and how you helped kind of, I guess, steamroll bringing wrestling back to the CNE on this regular basis.
Well, in late 2018, when I became owner of Classic Championship Wrestling, I got it from the previous owner. He had 2 young kids and a family. He'd been doing it 10 years, and he met myself and my silent partner, and we purchased it from him, and I had a goal in mind. I said, I want to take this, not just, doing little stuff. I want to make this as big as we possibly can. And I reached out to the CNE back in 2019, started a relationship with them, and we were supposed to be down there in 2022. They called me, and but due to coming out of COVID and licensing, and it was still construction going on, we had to delay it till last year. And they gave me opening weekend, and it wasn't a lot of advertising. It was kind of like like the CNE's planned almost a year in advance. So last year, I think I got the okay for the CNE in like April or May, so very late. And they gave me opening weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 events a day. And Sunday after the second event, they asked me if I could come back Labor Day weekend. They had Impact come in the second weekend, and they did a couple of matches, I think, and it was more for a press conference for the pay-per-view that was taking place in Toronto. But then they reached out to me late last year again, and I met with them very early January, and we started putting this all together. And it's just amazing how it's been able, like, I have several contacts from years and years ago. I've always been friends with Jimmy Hart, Tito Santana, guys like that. And they were on board right away. And then, I don't know, most people know, I put the ad out, I don't know, a month, 6 weeks ago. So opening weekend was Jimmy Hart and Jacques Rougeau, which it still is. So that'll be Friday, August 16th, Saturday, August 17th, Sunday, August 18th. Then the following weekend, I think it's August 23rd, 4th, and 5th, we have Jimmy Hart again with Tito Santana. And then Labor Day weekend, August 30th, 31st, September 1st and 2nd was originally Jimmy Hart and Brutus Beefcake. But Brutus Beefcake decided he wanted to take another event closer to home. So I was scrambling and I had to call a friend of mine. A lot of people don't know that I've known Jerry Lawler for quite some time. And I called him, and he's more than happy to do it. This will be his first appearance ever in Canada outside of the WWE. And another added bonus, which people don't know, it's non-wrestling related, but Jerry's agent happens to be Scotty Schwartz, famous from the Christmas movie here, the one he got his tongue stuck on the pole.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's gonna be here too that weekend, and he'll be
Amazing.
meeting everybody and signing autographs with Jimmy. So the legends, they're not going to be wrestling, but they're going to be here to do meet and greets, to answer questions. It's going to be, if you've never met these guys, this might be the only opportunity, I think, to ever meet Jerry Lawler in person in the city of Toronto, unless he comes back with WWE, because he doesn't do many events, especially up here in Canada. So it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to meet probably one of the top 3 greatest minds in the professional wrestling business.
Absolutely. I mean, I was a big fan of Jerry the King Lawler from, I was a big fan of Andy Kaufman. So when Jerry the King Lawler and Andy Kaufman had their thing, I mean, I was a little bit early days in life when all that stuff happened, but I caught back to it thanks to Man on the Moon, and I went back and it appreciated Jerry the King Lawler so much more, plus his commentary skills. I like to say that I learned a lot from Jerry the King Lawler. He was kind of like that father figure that I never knew he had.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's good for all the local talent every weekend to be around these legends and just soak it all in, because it's like I've had so many people in the last 72 hours, from wrestlers, promoters, everybody reaching out, hey, man, can we come to? Everybody's welcome to come down. If you're part of the event, if you're wrestling on the event, cool. I'm sure you'll have an ample opportunity, but I'm expecting a big crowd for this. So they're coming down, and I believe the meet and greets will probably start around 11:30 every day, and the last event is at 6:30 at night. So it's going to be a full day of wrestling at the CNE, and we're there we're there for 18 straight days. So Monday to Thursday, there'll be 3 events a day as well: 1:30, 4, and 6:30 p.m.
Wow, but the meet and greets with the legends only happen on the weekends, correct?
Correct. They're only here on the weekend. Jimmy Hart's actually coming up here for the whole thing, so he'll probably be down there quite a bit. But he's a very good friend of mine, so he's just coming up instead of flying back and forth. He's just going to stay up.
Why not? It's Toronto in August is beautiful. Toronto in August, any time of the year is beautiful, but in August it's especially beautiful.
Today is a beautiful day out. I just hope it doesn't rain.
Yeah, well, we'll try to wrap this up so you don't get soaked. I don't want anything bad to happen to you, Mike. But a lot of people may not know about you've got eras, decades in this business in terms of experience and these connections that you've had and built. I mean, anything you want to impart on, I guess, not so much advice, but kind of explaining how Mike Clark has Jerry the King Lawler, Jimmy Hart, Tito Santana in his cell phone. I mean, for me, a wrestling fan, I grew up with those guys. It's awesome to see somebody still have those relationships after so many years.
Well, I was fortunate enough. I was a super fan in the mid 80s, and my dad, he was a big union organizer, and he was probably the biggest in Canada in the mid 80s. And he had a business meeting one day here by the airport, because I live 5 minutes from the airport. He said, I met Jimmy Snook on these guys, and they all stayed. So we rode our bikes down at 14, 15 years old and got autographs and pictures. I was fortunate enough to meet my partner, Elio, and I got a job at 15 years old. My summer job was selling souvenirs for Jack Tunney's WWF Canada, Maple Leaf Wrestling. And then in November of 1987, I was 16, and I started full-time with the company at 16 years old in the office. It went back and forth, but did everything: merchandise, ring crew, got to travel everywhere. And then in 1990, with the free trade agreement, I'll tell you, this is how crazy this story is. So I was at home. It was a Sunday, and years and years ago, you couldn't shop on a Sunday, but they had just recently started Sunday shopping. And I get a call at 2 o'clock in the afternoon from Jack Tunney. He says, "What are you doing? You coming to the show?" I said, "Yeah, of course. I need you to ref. Go get a pair of pants and a shirt." I said, "What are you talking about?" So there was only one referee that made it to the show, and that was basically it. I went out, and it was a sold-out crowd at Maple Leaf Gardens with no training. They said, "Get on out there," and I was shaking like a leaf. And people said, "Well, you've been here for years." I said, "Yeah, but I've never been out like this, you know." And that was it. I refereed for about a year. I didn't really like the refereeing part of it. I prefer being behind the scenes. And then I left in late 91 at the age of 20 and never thought I'd be back in wrestling. And it was just happened circumstance. Met one guy, met another guy, and kind of ran into the owner of this classic championship wrestling, started helping him out a little bit. You know, he'd have a double shot. I'd do one, he'd do the other, and then just ended up purchasing the company. And I'm back, and like I have a day job. I've got 2 years to retire from that, and I'm just, you know, having fun. It's like, to me, it's a business, but it's also a hobby where you can hopefully make a little bit of money doing, you know, and it's a passion of mine. And I think a lot differently than most people. I look at this as a, you know, as a business. You know, I believe wrestling fans are the best fans in the world. You know, and this 2024, I don't think wrestling has ever been bigger than it is right now around the world. Like, you just look at the numbers that WWE is doing. It's just completely off the charts. They're doing pay-per-views. I think today they're in France. Like, they're doing pay-per-views in Australia, literally all over the world, Saudi. Like, it's incredible. Like, being there back in the 80s as a young kid, I never worked in indies. Like, I went straight to the WWE. I didn't know any, and it may be ignorant, but like, there was no internet. There was nothing back then. I knew nothing about independent wrestling. I heard of, you know, the Crockett's, NWA, and Georgia and stuff like that. Memphis, of course. But, you know, and another thing, like coming into this indie industry after being out 30 years, I said, "Oh, this will be a cakewalk." You know, I worked in the WWF. Man, was I wrong. It's a totally different entity out here. But, you know, you learn, you know, and you learn something new every day. If I could just give the people, the wrestlers, one piece of advice, it's like, and I know I'm an old guy and I was around, but the business never changes. Take the advice, these legends and people around you that have been in the business. Don't but anybody. I hate that. You know, someone will say, for instance, you're a wrestler. "Hey, George, yeah, can I talk to you? You may want to do this. Why do you do it that way? Why don't you try this?" "Yeah, but." They're giving you a piece of advice. Don't but anybody. Take the advice for whatever you will. And always remember, this business is a very vain business. It's all about optics and what they see. And the way that I try to tell people, like, I've had people will look at you, you're a promoter. Look at the shape you're in. I go, but I'm not a professional wrestler getting out there half naked and performing in front of people. You know, and I've had a couple of people I've had run-ins with, young talent, and I just say, you know, keep your shirt on. They come out, they take the shirt off, and they look terrible without their shirt off. And I just say, you know, do you think right now, the way you look in a mirror, you'd be able to appear next to Randy Orton and John Cena on Raw? Right? It's a very, very vain business. It's all about the look. And it's like, you know, if you bring up Demand Lucha is all characters. You know, not everybody, a lot of people in the masks have jackets and robes on and boas, and it's entertainment. You know, you have to separate yourself from everybody else. Do something different. There's enough black tights and black boots. Do something different. That's all I would say. Try and stand out from the crowd. You don't need to be the greatest. Like, look, they all talk about, "Oh, I got to get this in." It's not about your ring work, about entertaining. Hulk Hogan gets, you know, a lot of flack. Hulk Hogan was an incredible worker in the ring when he had to be. He took the Ultimate Warrior 25 minutes at WrestleMania 6. You know, if he wasn't good in the ring, but a guy like Ultimate Warrior, not a great wrestler. Even The Rock. The Rock is all charisma. There's not much to his wrestling. You know, and, you know, you get some of the greatest wrestlers in the world, but they can't draw the people. The people want to see something larger than life. They want to see something completely different. And you either have that charisma or you don't. You can't be taught this stuff. You know, so sometimes if you're not the most charismatic person, you have to come up with something to overcome that, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely does. Absolutely does. I think that's a great way to end the conversation. A little bit of old school, a little bit of new school, a little bit of mixing the bag and understanding, yeah, but is not a way that you want to get ahead. Take the advice, whatever it is. Look at myself. I started this podcast 7 years ago, and I have taken everyone's advice, everyone's critiques, everyone's criticism. I found my voice, I found my style, and I found what works for me. And it took 7 years, and I'm still working at it. But hey, what can I say? If it wasn't for, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, if it wasn't for you setting up the connection with Demand Lucha, I wouldn't have met some of the talent that I've had and been able to have them on the show. So I thank you for that, and anything I could do to help you promote all the great events you got going on this summer. Guys, you want ribs? You want wrestling? CCW is the place to be. So many different amazing venues and events coming up. And then, of course, 3 weeks at the CNE. You got 3 weekends of meeting amazing legends from wrestling's past and history. And you've also got literally wrestling through the week with some great up-and-coming talents. I know Mike Clark knows a lot of great talents around there. Mr. Marvelous, Zoe Stark, they're all coming. So get into it. And of course, Los Medicos. I saw El Doctor is going to be floating around. Be careful of that guy. He may try to steal some brains, Mike. You got to keep careful.
I might even, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. I think the hostess with the mostess. You know, I'll tell you a quick story. Last year, they wanted a girl to host Demand Lucha. I reached out. I said, I have the perfect woman. So I'm very good friends with Jenny Santana, and I think she might be coming up for a weekend at the CNE as well. So we'll get her up and doing her thing in the ring with everybody. And yeah, so come down. I just want everybody to have a good time. It's family entertainment. It's good guy, bad guy. And hope to see you all there.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Clark, owner-operator of CCW. That's Classic Championship Wrestling. I'm your host, your boy, George Mackay. Peace, love, and wrestling. We'll see you next time. Peace. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and turn on that notification bell so you get notified each time we post a video. Alternatively, you can check us out on all podcast platforms and hosted on Podbean. We are also available on the SNME network. That's the Sunday Night Main Event Patreon. Please feel free to check us out there as well. And don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms at _Straight Talk on Twitter, at Straight Talk Wrestling on Instagram, Straight Talk Wrestling on Facebook, Straight Talk Wrestling on TikTok, and of course, you can check out all our merch at ProWrestlingTees.com.
I don't need a nigga cosign. Without the liquor, you become a victim. You ain't never got a pole mine. I ain't messing with this generation. Fuck your gen, I ain't got